Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, all the way down to the little ass babies. Welcome to the Uncovered podcast with Nick and Femi. What's going on? As you can see, this is season 2. We've got new sounds, new guests, same Nick.
And same Femi.
Facts. We don't change, baby. We don't change, baby.
What are you doing?
That was awful. All right. So now we've got a special guest here. In season 2, it's going to be a little bit different. We're going to go straight into it. Very serious.
Yeah.
Very
It's going to be an
intense.
incredibly serious podcast.
100%.
Yeah, man. Just
No laughs.
No laughs.
If you're here to laugh,
Wrong podcast.
wrong podcast. Go on Comedy Central, man. Like, this is not the one for you.
Just kidding.
Psych!
get
It's the
straight into
same old thing, but now we've got a very special guest, Miss Beck. Counselling with Beck. How are you? What's going on?
Yeah, I'm really good, thank you. Happy, what day are we? Wednesday.
It is the Wednesday.
It is Wednesday.
It is Wednesday day of recording.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a good chat. I think that we're going to go through a lot of things that are really relevant to people because I won't introduce yourself for you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are, what do you do, and then we can get stuck into it.
Okay, so my name's Rebecca or Beck.
Yeah.
Either one's good for me. I have made up a company called Counselling and Wellbeing by Rebecca. Came over to Australia in 2003. Still can't shift this funny accent that I've got. But hey ho. So I've been counselling since last year. Did my studies a couple of years ago.
Awesome.
But really just wanted to find my proper life path, which is helping people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. And I know that from us doing a little bit of research that your approach and your style to counseling is a bit holistic. So give us like a bit of a rundown of what made you want to actually deep dive into firstly counseling, and what made you feel like the holistic approach was the best way to go with counseling?
Okay, so I've always had a real interest in mental health and physical health, I guess. I lost my husband to suicide. It's about 9.5 years ago. And then I had a really significant head injury about 5 years ago. And after that time, I was really helped through my situation with a lot of really great professionals. I was really lucky. I know whether the planets lined up really well, but I was taken care of brilliantly. And I guess just having the understanding, particularly when you've had some big things which have happened to you in your life and you can feel a bit naff, that we do, even though we don't realise it at the time, that we do all have the capacity to feel better, and that you don't always know what's around the corner. You know, there's awful things that can happen in life, but there's also really wonderful things that can happen.
Yeah.
So I'm getting a bit emotional, but
No,
you just don't know what's going to be around the corner. So there are really good things there, and it's just remembering that tomorrow is another day.
Yeah.
And mental health, I think people there's a bit of a disconnect with how they think it is. We seem to think that we've got this brain in our head and that we're walking around, with our body, and then we've got our brain. So we think, mental illness, it's just to do with our head. But it's not just about that. We need to really think about what's going on with what we're putting in our mouth, what we're eating, how we're sleeping, all manner of things, whether we're exercising. I know that when you're depressed and what have you, you don't feel like doing it, but sometimes all it is just putting on a pair of shoes and getting out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that like you said, a lot of people don't realize the connection between body and mind, right?
Yeah.
So what was there a particular event or circumstance or time or trigger point where you're like, these two make sense together? Because I think that's incredibly insightful, and the reason why most people don't actually see it is because there's not much information or awareness being put out there. So what was the point or the turning point that made you think, okay, well, mental health is a lot more than just, pills and therapy. There's a lot more to it. So what made you get to that point?
I think for me, I've obviously spent a lot of time sitting in front of doctors, and I used to do a fair bit of research on not Dr. Google, but proper reputable sites, government sites or the Mayo Clinic and things like that. So really digging into thinking about not just your mental health, but exercise and what you're eating, and so much so that my doctor ended up saying that you should have just studied to be a doctor, because I would go in there and talk to stuff and he'd say, okay, well, how do you know that? Well, because I looked on so-and-so site.
Yeah.
So I started linking the two together, and I think when you're right, a lot of people don't have the self-awareness to just be thinking that it is a whole thing.
Yeah, exactly.
But there's this disconnect between the head and the body, but our head is in our body.
Yeah.
So, of course, you know, if you're eating junk food, if you're drinking heaps of alcohol, if you're doing the occasional drug party stuff on the weekend, whatever that it is,
Never.
of course.
Yeah, we would never do that. What?
Party drugs?
What's that? Can you elaborate?
No idea.
I wish you could put like actually no. Yeah. Just kidding, guys.
Alcohol?
I drink H2O. Only H2O.
Also, I've got like an underactive thyroid, so that can affect your mental health. So
Yeah.
people can just think, okay, I've got depression or anxiety, when it can be that you're depleted in iron, or your B12
Yeah.
levels are low, or your vitamin D levels are low.
Yeah.
Be things like that. So we think that, or we can think that we've just got anxiety, when there actually can be physical things that are going on.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
Go on.
Sorry, Nicholas. Yeah, I was just going to say quickly, I think that's really interesting about mental health in general, is that it's highly complex, and it's something that's like, I think that, like, not to simplify any other area of medicine or anything, but in terms of like, it can be more tangible and direct pathways can make sense in terms of, let's say, if you have a broken arm, right? Okay, there was a trauma that caused that broken arm to happen. But with mental health, there's so many more factors because of how the fragility of our mind.
Yeah.
And I don't think people actually realize just how sensitive the brain is, and just and the whole kind of interaction within the body that it plays. So I think that's a really interesting perspective that you've put out there.
For sure. And even like you were saying about it being like a super complex system, it's really, really important for people to understand that it's very individualistic as well to them. So, because you were talking about like going on Google, and I think a lot of people, especially when it comes to mental health, that they take a few more additional steps before they go and approach like a health professional or anything to talk about their mental health. And that's obviously due to like stigma and shame, guilt, whatever they feel about it. And I think that you raised a good point, because when you go on Google, it's so quick to say, oh, you're feeling low, you're feeling all these characteristics in terms of your behavior, so you're depressed. And then I'm going to be like, yep, I'm depressed. But then it's as simple as you just saying, oh, maybe it's just your iron levels are low. Like a lot of people actually don't make that connection. And I think it's so, so important that we really emphasize the importance of like our physical and really understanding what's going on somatically before we actually start delving into as deep with our mental health.
And and understand that, like you said, it is personal. Like, somebody's situation is not your situation.
Exactly.
And just because it might look as though I can relate to those things, there might be something else completely different in your life that is making it completely contextually different.
Exactly.
So I think it's really important that whenever you're going through these things, look, don't ask your mate.
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean? Don't ask your mate.
Yeah.
Like, find out for yourself, right?
Exactly.
Like, you don't want to be going around thinking, this false sense of security, or adding additional anxiety to yourself because you think that you're broken, whatever you want to call it or whatever. And in actuality, there's possibly a much simpler reason.
Well, and also when I'm seeing clients too, a lot of the time I say to people, I'm really looking at their sleep, their habits that they've got, and talking to them and saying, have you actually been to your doctor and had a full blood count? It's so basic, and really we should be doing that once a year.
Yeah.
Just check that everything is okay, because just don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
So I wanted to ask you, 'cause since we're on the topic now of holistic health, let's define to the audience, what does holistic health actually mean to you?
Okay, so holistic health to me is, again, I guess it's just thinking about our head, our brain and our body all being one. So we can't just think that there's a disconnect between the two. We need to think, people come in and they think, okay, I'm just feeling really bad. I'm feeling really anxious, feeling really depressed. Okay, well, let's talk about this. Tell me about your sleeping habits.
Yeah.
Tell me what you do before you go to bed. Do you go to bed the same time? How is your sleep? How is your eating? when do you eat? Do you stop eating? How is your breathing? Something that's as basic as that.
Yeah.
Because we forget something which is completely automatic with our breathing, but how we're doing it.
Yeah.
With things like meditation, which can really calm down our system. So it's looking at everything as a whole, our relationships, our work. Okay, I've got anxiety. Tell me what your work life is like. Are you being bullied? How are your relationships? Are you in a...
So I'm being bullied by Nick at work.
Can you tell us how?
Can we talk about some workplace issues? Can you be our HR leader from now on? Like our HR manager?
She was doing a mediating exam today, and I think
so you can be...
she can actually mediate. So let's
just
talk about it for a second.
Quickly, can I just say, how do we define workplace bullying? Because I've been abused by Nick for the past... How long have we been in business for, Nick? 3 years? 3.5 years, 4 years maybe.
I don't know.
So we need to have a conversation off air, but yeah, I just wanted to put that out there. So if you are a victim,
look at this guy playing.
If you're a
watching
victim,
this right
ladies
now,
and
please
gentlemen,
go to YouTube and watch the video of how Femi.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Femi, don't hit me.
This guy's so stupid, bro. No, but on a serious note, if you're a victim of workplace bullying, please reach out, get some help.
You're not alone.
You're not alone, and I'm definitely. I'm with you. I'm in the waiting line there with you. But anyway, what I wanted to actually ask you, just to take a step back on track, is we talk a lot about, like, when we talk about holistic health, a lot of it talks about relationships, food, sleep. I want to talk a little bit, not in full detail, but I want to just ask you, what are your thoughts on like spirituality in that role that it plays in our mental health? It's a little bit left of field, but I was just interested.
Well, that's all right. I'm not particularly religious. I used to have a lot of church, into me as a youngster.
Yeah.
But I guess I am quite spiritual now, and I also am a firm believer of that if you want to try and manifest your life a particular way, or you've got goals, that you can really send out good signs of stuff into wherever it's going. If you're thinking that life is completely awful and this is never going to happen and that's going to happen, they're completely going into and I can get it, going into the negative self-talk all the time, but really thinking about how you would like your life to be, how great things can be. So I don't know whether that is being spiritual, but I'd like to think that there is something there which is helping us to navigate.
Yeah, having a belief system is definitely, I think having a belief system is very, very important. Whatever it is, right? Like it could be just as simple as like, I believe in myself or the universe or whatever it is. But I think that it allows us to be able to kind of have a separation between kind of like the overwhelming nature of the world, of reality, and kind of be able to kind of put something else outside of our control, because sometimes things are just a little bit bigger than us and it becomes a little bit more difficult.
Exactly. Like COVID.
Exactly.
I think COVID is terrible, but for a lot of us it's made us realise that we just don't have control on so much that's happening.
Exactly.
And when you're in an ever-changing environment all the time, you just got no control. Tomorrow it could be something completely different. We just don't really know what's going on. So, it's an understanding that really the planet that we're on, no matter what, it's going to keep on turning. Yeah. Sometimes that can feel quite unfortunate when it's like that. But I think it makes you a bit more resilient and just understanding that, okay, today something bad has happened. If I've got good help and what have you, I'll be able to get through that. And just understanding that hopefully one day, I guess it's the hope that it will change.
Hope. That's a really powerful word.
Yeah, and I think it's really good as well in the context of when people are stuck in that negative self-talk, they feel like this situation at the moment is permanent. So that hope and that understanding that, today is just today, tomorrow is a whole other day. We're not sure what's going to happen tomorrow, which can obviously trigger a little bit of anxiety. But on the other side of that, we can see that there's a potential for my whole life circumstance to change. And we've seen that time and time with so many people's different lives, people that are overcoming their depression and how they feel. It all just comes from that element of hope and understanding that this is not permanent. what's going to happen tomorrow is going to happen tomorrow, and it can be a complete different situation. And I think that's a really powerful note, especially when you were talking about hope, because that's what's really going to help a lot of people in this recovery phase or whatever challenges they may be experiencing with their mental health.
Yeah. Hey Nick, quick question.
Talk to me.
Have you ever an example of like when you've used holistic help? Like holistic health? Like, oh, not even like holistic health. What I mean is like for your own mental health and seeking like a different approach to managing your mental health. Like not just, what people would naturally and kind of quintessentially see as mental health support. Like let's say counselling or using pills or like medication or meditation or whatever. Like something a bit like different. Have you ever, do you have an example or story?
That I can think
Give me a story.
You want a story? Yeah.
It's Nick's story time.
Wow, that was actually such a great intro for that. Damn. Then you asked me a question that I really haven't been able to adhere to this theme with. You know what? Like, when I reflect, I don't know if the only thing that comes to mind is really when it comes back to my faith, when it comes to my mental health. I don't know if that answers your question, but I think that's a big part of my life because, I believe in a higher power. And when I feel like I'm anxious or I'm feeling quite insecure with, what's going on, I have that lack of control. Yeah. I like to have that sense of feeling that it's like, this is much bigger than me. And just having that ability to surrender has really helped calm my mental state. And I think that, having that spirituality and that point of reference that you can go to has been really helpful for my mental health because I can get too stuck in my head. And when I'm too stuck in my head, it's not a safe place to be in. So I need something where I can just release and let it go and just give it in the controls of someone else. So,
Amen.
No,
facts.
I don't know if that was answering your question.
No, I feel like spirituality, for sure. Like spirituality is a big part of like yourself. And I think that like, as we repeated or what we said earlier, it's like there's so many elements and factors and parts of what makes us. It's not just our arms or our legs or even just our body and our brain. There's our spirituality, there's our culture, our belief systems. There's so many things that make us that's not just the tangibles that are important.
What about you?
Oh.
Hola, niños!
See, this is why Nick doesn't press the button. This is, what?
I'm getting bullied, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, look. You always say, Femi, why don't you let Nick touch the buttons? This is why. This is why he can't touch the buttons. So let me just move that over there. So
you're so silly because that was actually all you. But anyways,
that's crazy.
Can you share your story, please? We're all listening.
Yeah, quick. So for me, I think that like not to repeat yours, because I really 100% agree. I 100% agree with what you're saying, but like just to take it on a different angle, I think that the biggest release that is underrated, and we hear it being said over and over and over and over and over again, which kind of loses its power. But I think that if we just take a second to really think about it, is super important, is really just physical exercise and being able to get outside and sweat and really have your heart rate increasing is massively, massively beneficial for burning off the hormones, like the cocktail of hormones that we have when we're feeling anxious, when we're feeling overwhelmed, when we're having in a fight or flight moment. It's really important to exercise. It's really important just to do stuff and move. So, and I think that when I was going through tough times and when I've been going through stressful times, a lot of the balance I've been able to achieve has come through having a healthy exercise routine. Definitely food and sleep is so pivotal as well. But like the actual act of, going out and doing boxing, going out and playing soccer, going out and just bashing Nick on a weekend, like all that kind of.
He doesn't see. That's why I'm not going to talk anymore. You guys got to witness this yourself. I'm the victim here. Call 000 for me. I live in Glenwood.
No, but yeah. So that's basically for me. I think that physical exercise has been so pivotal.
Yeah, awesome.
Exercise is great. Anxiety gets confused with it.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. And I think that, I don't know if I want to talk about it now. We're going off topic because I know that you said at the beginning, you're like, physical activity is so, so important. But when you're depressed, you don't feel the desire to do that. You don't want to move. And I was going to ask you a question about, well, how do people combat that? Because we know it's so helpful. Yeah. But when your mental state is telling you that you don't want to do, it's the last thing on your mind. You're low, you're flat, you're lethargic, you just want to stay in bed. Like, how do you then get the energy and the motivation to be like, I'm going to go for a walk, even that's the last thing I want to do right now?
Yeah, that one's really tricky. So the way that I get around that with people that I see is thinking, I think if you say to somebody, oh, okay, you need to go out for a walk for an hour, they're just going to look at you and go, that's
How?
just never.
Yeah.
How, Sway? How, Sway?
or go like that, but internally. You know, it's super hard. So I always say to people, okay, so go for a walk for an hour now. I know that sounds like such a long amount of time, but it's really not. When you're outside, being really mindful, looking at everything, look at other people's houses, check out the garden, the cat, the birds in the sky, all the beautiful nature that we've got around us. Jump in your car, go somewhere that you haven't been to, go for a bushwalk. Go for a swim, making it less of a chore and more fun, rather than, oh, okay, I've just got to pop out the house, local area, if you know, wherever that you live isn't that great. But doing it and making it a bit fun and more like kind of a good hobby.
Yeah. That's perfect. That's excellent. Well, on that note, we got to pay some bills. So what we're going to do is we're going to go for a quick break, and you're going to hear a word from our
sponsors.
Our sponsors. Us. We need to pay bills. So listen to the quick break, and just listen to what it tells you to do, please.
Yeah.
So, Beck, you've obviously done and talked a lot about food and nutrition, but let's delve a little bit deeper into it. Like, why is that so important to our mental health? Like, why should anyone really care? Because I think we all know that food and eating well is generally important, but why is it so particularly important in this context?
Okay, well, they've now figured out that we've got a second brain in our stomach. So we can't have a disconnect thinking that what we put into our mouth, going into our stomach, isn't going to affect our other brain up there. So, you know, we all slip up. We're human. Even I'm not perfect.
What?
I know.
I can't believe that. What?
I don't believe that. That's cat.
But yeah, it's just really important to think of what we're ingesting, that it does affect our body. It just affects everything.
Yeah. How do you think that we improve our relationships with food? Because I know a lot of people, I guess, like in the context of like not to badmouth the health and fitness industry, but they made food look like just calories in, calories out, carbs, fats, proteins. That's all it is. Might have developed, I know for myself, because I was really, really big in that back in the days. That's all I would kind of look at it as, and probably still to this day kind of view it as. So how do you kind of improve that relationship with food to be able to understand that it's not just calories, it's not just carbs, fats and proteins, that there's so much more with it?
Well, I'm kind of a carb girl, and I love my veggies. But for me, I guess it's just been really self-aware. If you're eating bad things, it's just taking a step back, I really think. So if you're getting food from Uber all the time, just delete your app. Costs a fortune. If you're putting on heaps of weight and you're not feeling that great, just have a bit of, I know it's easier said than done, but just trying to rein yourself back in. To improve your relationship with food, resisting temptation where you can, just not buying stuff. So if you go to the supermarket, I just ignore. I try to. Like I said, I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
I love my chocolate, and who doesn't like a nice glass of wine?
Yeah.
But if you just ignore all of this bad stuff that's around,
Yeah.
But if you're good during the week and you have a bit of a blowout over the weekend, well, who really cares? And we've also got to accept too that during COVID that there's been a massive change in people's weights. So it's not putting pressure on yourself too and thinking, oh, you know, I've put so much weight on, because we're not moving as much as we were before, because a lot of people have been working from home. So it's been quite sedentary. So I've always got this thing that I say to people about not beating yourself with a stick all the time for all the bad things that you think that you do. So I think it's also changing the mindset from, oh, I'm doing all this bad negative stuff to, well, you know what, it's okay, we're going through a pandemic, life isn't perfect. If I have good food habits, you know, for the majority of the time, and then a slip up every now and again, well, so be it, because you're human.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that. It's like that little like self-love and self-acceptance. Like at the end of the day, it's like, it is what it is. And I think that like when you really talk about bad food in quotations, it's really, really important, because like nothing's good or bad. We don't really label things. It just is what it is.
Yeah.
And when we can accept that, I think it really does help with the relationship, the way you approach things, and so much more.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess like the itching question that a lot of people are asking is, by a lot of people I mean me, what actually is emotional eating, and how do we know that we're doing it? Because I think that people might not realize it. I think people have a perception of what emotional eating is just sitting in your bed and crying and eating ice cream. But it's not just that, right?
That's yummy.
That's delicious. I do that 3 times a week.
Sometimes it just hits the spot so well, but
I'm telling you, if you got like a comfy bed, a nice TV there, candles, got like air conditioning, and you got like connoisseur ice cream.
Well, it's on
It's our specials at Woolies. You got like
Macadamia.
Yes, and you got like the Cobb's popcorn.
Whoa! After just receiving that text message from your partner, you're like, nah, not today.
Not today. And your partner's like, oh yeah, nah, no thanks.
Yeah, no thanks.
Hit different. No, but seriously, how do we know that we are emotionally eating? And what is it? What actually is it?
Okay, so my take on emotional eating is that it's eating for comfort. And then I think it's a problem if you, again, it's back to self-realisation about what's going on. Sometimes that's taking a step back. We can get so into doing something we don't realise that we're doing it. I think if you feel guilty after you're eating, you know, guilty the next day, oh, you know, yesterday I had all of that ice cream and all of that wine and whatever else is going on, then it's a problem. And if you're always reaching out to food for some form of comfort, so whenever you've had a stressful situation, say at work or your partner, whatever that's going on, and you are going into your freezer and getting your connoisseur ice cream, I mean, it's good stuff. But if you're doing that all the time, then it's not that great.
So I feel like to a degree, everybody does that, right? Because even for me personally, we associate food with comfort. I think that we've been grown up to have that, because it's like, I might be wrong, right? But I think that's my perception of it. So it's like if I'm having a tough day and, you know, I'm like, you know what, today was just a bit much. I don't feel like exercising. I don't feel like going to the gym. I don't feel like it. What am I going to do? I'm definitely going to sit and chill and eat. That's what I'm going to try to do. So I feel it's very interesting that people do that. So not to steal your question, but why do people emotionally eat? Why do people do that?
I think for a lot of people it can just become a habit, an unconscious thing that they've started doing, or their family, you know, it's a thing in the family, or your friends are doing it, and it's a habit. It's like any bad habit. And the thing is, with any bad habit, that we can change them. They say it takes 21 days to do it. And it's hard at the beginning, but the more that you change it, the easier that it becomes.
Yeah.
So it can be really unconscious. And, you know, also with food, if you're making yourself unwell, whatever is going on, then obviously that there's emotional things which are going on there. But you're right. Food for most people is it's a big thing, isn't it? From when we were kids, you know, you sit on the table, or you get taken out for meals, and you have your friends round.
You're rewarded with food.
Yeah. And it's nice stuff. Tastes pretty good.
Yeah.
Depends who cooks it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I think just Femi got really defensive about the comfort food. It's like, what? Like you struck a chord for him, because I think when you broke your leg, you know what? I'll let you tell that story. But when you broke your leg and
that's crazy.
What happened?
That's crazy.
He's like, comfort food. Don't we all do it? I'm like, but it's a little bit different. That's why.
You, baby. That's for us. Let's say us. Don't we. Who's we? It's just you, baby. A little story time, real quick.
Oh, sorry, I can't touch it.
No. So basically, I broke my leg, right, playing soccer for some Great guy. Hope he's doing well with his life. But anyway, that's a whole nother, that's a whole other story. No, so he broke my leg, and that was a big. That was big for us big for me because at that time we were going through a really tough time, business-wise, financially. I was actually I was doing a bit of a prep in terms of like changing my physique, in terms of like, you know, really getting good on at the gym and exercise, nutrition. I was on a really good routine and good trajectory. And then when that happened, I broke my leg. I couldn't work. I couldn't the business wasn't doing well, so I needed to go back to the hospital to work at the hospital. I couldn't really do that because I can't walk. I'm a nurse, so I was basically stuck at home, eating and crying and not sleeping. Oh yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, everybody always owes Nick. Someone owe me for once. Oh yeah, poor Femi. Yeah, I know. No, but it was a very tough time, and that's why I can resonate with the whole comfort eating, because I think that it was a very, very difficult time, and being able to just sit in bed, chill. I couldn't do much else. I couldn't walk. I was bedbound for a couple of weeks. Well, not really bedbound, but like it was just hurt a lot to walk, and I wasn't going anywhere. So I just self bedbound myself.
I'm trying to show this clinical terms. I was bedbound.
Relax, bro. You just didn't do shit. You just didn't do anything for 2 weeks. All right, cool. Yeah. Bet. Nick's really out here exposing me. Anyway, so no, but like it was a really tough time. I gained so much weight. It was crazy. Like I went from, if you ask Nick, that 2 weeks, I went from like probably one of the best shape of my life to boom, like 7 kilos.
It was crazy.
It was crazy.
Oh, that's
It's
quick.
crazy.
Yo, it was crazy.
Was that from your ice cream?
Yeah, connoisseur. They had a lot of sales on that.
Yeah, they were talking to you. Willis was talking to you.
Yeah, but it was a very difficult time, and I resonate with that thing. I think that people are going through that, like, it really makes sense that you're going through it, but it's just like we need to learn how to combat it and have a better relationship with food, and not like associate safety with food, because I feel like that was, you know, getting a little bit real and deep. I think that during that time period, that was one of the moments I felt safe. Like I felt like everything else in my life was really going downhill, but you know what I mean, no one could really take away from the fact that I'm, you know, here watching Prison Break for the 16th time this month, and eating whatever I want to eat. No one could say that. No one could take that away from me. Where everything else in my life at the time felt like it was being taken away from me. My relationships, my career, my business, my like physicality, my body, like everything that I put a lot of pride and joy associated with was going, and I didn't really have anywhere else to go. But it was more just that period of really being really, really low, which was hard because it wasn't just because I broke my leg. It was just the context of the timing that made it so tough.
It's hard. Life can be so relentless like that.
Yeah, it can be.
You get whammy, whammy, whammy,
Boom.
all at you. Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah,
all in
yeah,
one
yeah.
hit.
Yeah.
And food is a good distraction.
Exactly.
Exactly. But even like what we were talking about earlier about how like, well, situation's not permanent, because as much as there's bad things that happen, a good thing happened that year during that time when we got selected to go into the Amazing Race. And I must say, your comeback from that 2 week when we knew that we're going on the Mace was actually incredible. So what you saw with this guy on TV with the camel running, understand that was a couple weeks after he just broke his leg.
Yo, it was mental.
The situation's never permanent, you know?
Have your leg in plaster?
Literally, so this is the story. I hope the producers aren't seeing this shit.
Yeah.
But I left to go on the Maze Race on the Monday. I took my boot off on the Friday night. Like I was going to the physio. I was going to the physio like 4 times a week, going to the doctor, trying to get clearance for 3 weeks. And they're like, no chance, no chance, no chance, no chance, no chance. Yeah. Can you get your boot off? And then the Friday night, I was like, please, like I got to get this boot off. And the girl was like, bro, I'm going to tell you this to your face. The answer is no, but I can't stop you from doing anything. So literally we took the boot off, and I was like, I ran on the Friday. I was doing like park runs with the Friday with her. And she's like, you are nowhere near ready to do this. But anyway, I did it anyway, and here we are. And that was a crazy experience. The first day that we ran on the Amazing Race, I thought my leg was gonna fall off. Like that was so tough.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Did it.
it was
You've got the most iconic thing on it with you run on the camel. They didn't even know the context.
They didn't even know. They didn't even know. The comeback's always better than the come up, baby. Trust me.
Trust me. All right, guys, let's keep it moving on anyway. So the last thing I want to talk about, which is something that's been super, super important to me recently this year, but let's talk about it, sleep. Because obviously everybody knows that, you know, sleep is something that we should be doing. There's a certain amount of hours we should be doing, blah, blah, blah. We hear that all the time. But can you tell us, like, why is it actually so important? Like, why should we be sleeping so much? Why should we make this a priority in our life? Give us a bit of a rundown on it.
Okay, so you're talking to the expert on sleep.
Yeah.
I love sleep. Personally, I could do it all day. But I can't because I've got other stuff that needs to happen. But it's really important because poor sleep, if you don't sleep well, it can really affect your cognitive ability the following day. So much so that even driving your car can be really dangerous. It's like drink driving, effectively.
That's facts.
Yeah, that's pretty big. Also, you know, you wake up in the morning and you think, oh, I had such an awful sleep. My life is so terrible. Like that every day, day in, day out. Well, that's just going to hurt, isn't it? It can affect your relationships, working ability. Your boss might get cranky. Your partner's going to get cranky because you haven't got the energy to do anything. So it's so important. Also, going back to anxiety, people thinking that they're really anxious. Okay, how are you sleeping? Not really sleeping. I'm overthinking or I'm waking up during the night. So the two are interchangeable. You know, if you're not sleeping well and then you've got anxiety.
Yeah.
Oh, but I've just got anxiety, but you don't sleep properly.
Yeah.
So we really need, again, it's that whole holistic thing to bring everything in together. So sleep is so important, and if you haven't got it, it feels like the rest of your life is derailing a bit.
Why don't people? Sorry.
So I just want to ask a question before you ask that question. So I might steal that question, but I want to break it down into two parts because I think you said something really interesting, and I get this a lot, especially with people that are anxious, that they're overthinking, and because their minds are so active, they find it difficult to get into a relaxed state. So can you answer in specifically, like, how do people that are anxious and that tend to think a lot during the time where they're meant to be sleeping actually sleep better? Because I would imagine that if you're overthinking, then you can't get into a relaxed state, therefore you can't sleep. Yeah. And then the second part of that is that in a general sense, how do people actually improve their sleep? So there's two contexts, if that makes sense.
So I talk a lot about meditation. I'm really big on that for just giving your mind a bit of a break. I don't tell people to learn it themselves. There's some really good apps there like Headspace, Smile and Mind or Calm to just give yourself a little bit of a break before you get off to sleep. And then also if you wake up during the night and you're thinking about everything again, you can then just turn your app back on and meditate and go back off to sleep. Second part of your question, sorry, I missed you.
That's okay, just in a general sense, for people that aren't really overthinking or anxious, they just want to be able to improve their sleep. Like, how do people do that?
So how would you improve your sleep? I think that you need to be thinking about how your bedroom is or wherever that you're resting. Is it all got clutter all over the place? Are the animals coming in? Is it cold enough? Does it look nice? Are your pillows good?
That is so facts.
Have you got a weighted blanket, which would help? Actually, that's really good for anxiety too, is a weighted blanket if you're finding it's a struggle to sleep. Is having one of those. Good smells.
I'm telling you, ever since I just redid my room, and it is crazy the impacts it's had on my sleep. I'm not even kidding.
Isn't that interesting?
It's so interesting because I'm the type of person that I had a floor-drobe, like total floor-drobe.
I think I've got one of those at the moment too.
But ever since usually I would just clean my room and clear the floor-drobe, blah, blah, blah. But like this time I completely rearranged it, got a new mirror, candles everywhere, like soft pillows, multiple pillows. Yo, guys, just a side note. You know how guys always go to girls' houses and you see like a woman's room and it's got like hella pillows and stuff like that? trust me, it's lit. Like, it's actually a game changer. If when you walk in and you see those pillows and you got hella options and they're all soft.
Yeah, you got hella options. I don't feel like this pillow.
Yeah, you don't feel like that one and you feel like a different one. Trust me, it's crazy. I didn't believe it, but I just got I think I got like 5 pillows right now. Crazy. Such a game changer. But anyway, the room thing, I did not believe it, but because you naturally want to be in that space. That space is relaxing to you. That space is kind of like, again, safe for you to kind of relax as soon as possible. So I think that beforehand I wasn't sleeping well, but now as soon as I'm in bed, I'm comfy. Like I'm comfy, and it wasn't that much of a change. It was just literally just environment. Just environment. New just got new like pillows and what's that called? The
shades. Quilt.
I did get a new quilt, but that was just like normal. But I got the new like a throw. Have you guys? Do you know like a bed throw? You know those. Yo, get a throw. If you don't have a throw, get a throw. You know those things that are like on the edge of the bed, like that soft little. It's like a little blanket. Like a blanket thing on the side.
Nah,
bro, so comfy. Like when you're laying on your bed, you just got your feet on it, and you just feel how comfortable it is.
Nah, I haven't, man.
Mazza,
Softness,
so soft.
I'm gonna have to sauce it.
Hey, yo, I'm telling you, I'm interior designer now. I got
a photo. Show me a photo of your room.
Can you move on, bro?
It's your question.
Huh?
Oh, just one other thing, just really quickly too. People not sleeping properly. It's looking at, okay, well, am I using my mobile phone before I go off to sleep?
Exactly.
What apps am I messing around with, or am I watching a scary movie?
Kicking your feet.
That's right, I'll let it go. It's just being quite conscious of the unconscious things that we just automatically do. Now, if you're sitting there on your mobile phone without a blue light on, there's all these things that we just don't realise with our phones that are causing chemical reactions in us. And if you look at your phone first thing in the morning, so there's a lot of phone addiction and problems.
That's perfect. I think that's so true. And I think that sometimes it's very difficult because it's so habitual. It's like, what do we do to relax? Is you go on your phone and scroll, but that's actually what's stopping you from relaxing.
Exactly.
And you don't even realize it. Like the thought of not having your phone for 2 hours before you go to bed is asinine to most people. Like people would be like, come on, bro, relax. You know what I mean? Like, no way. 2 hours? So you tell me if I go to bed at 10:30, I got to be off my phone from 8:30? Yes. Correct. But it's really difficult, something that I haven't mastered for sure. But I think it's going to be really, really important. Really, really important for making that shift in better sleep. Sure. What are your thoughts on Oura rings? Do you have an Oura ring? Do you know what an Oura ring is? Have you heard of an Oura ring?
Yeah, I have. There was a really interesting exhibition. I can't remember where it was in. It might have been Carriage Works. The lady was taking photographs of people. You're talking about the Oura around you.
No. These rings, the sleep rings. Actually, we should have
seen it.
We should blurt out their name until they want to sponsor us.
I know. Why am I promoting you guys?
The beep ring.
Yeah, because I've like sleep for me has been massive for me this year. I'm like, I'm gonna get this ring and I'm gonna like prioritize my sleep. And what it does is that it just measures your different stages of sleep. So like whether I'm like in deep sleep, in REM sleep, or light sleep, all those different stages. And it just analyzes your sleeping behaviors every single night. And for me, it's just super interesting because it's like, you gotta, obviously, in order for this to be effective, you need to try different things like technology, set in a consistent bedtime, a consistent wake up time, what you do with like, I've got like an aroma therapy. So I've got like a diffuser going with lavender scent. And just seeing how it improves your sleep is really, really interesting. And then also when you don't do it, you realize the impacts it has. So this is just something that just measures it. So we know, well, am I actually having a good sleep? Because I used to think that if I just sleep 8 hours, like shit.
That's it. Job done.
Yeah, job done. But there's so much more to it. Like so much happens whilst you're asleep. And this ring just measures it. That's all it is.
That's good. I used to have one of those watches too that used to do
the
that.
Whoop watch?
Fitbit.
Fitbit.
It's really good for measuring. Wake up in the morning and have a look.
Yeah. I mean, like I would definitely talk up this ring a lot more, but I just gotta wait for that contract to come.
Yeah, I'm telling you. Cut the check. Once we cut the check, all 4 of our listeners are gonna hear about it. No, we're playing. That has been it's been an amazing chat. I think it's been super informative for a lot of people about. There's so much more to mental health than Usa. There's so much, like there's so much to it. You know what I mean? The word with a lot of exactly. So it's like being able to understand that the things that we take for granted are actually really important, and it's something that I've been starting to learn in a lot of areas of life, sport, everything. Business. It's the basics are the basics for a reason.
Oh yeah.
The fundamentals are the fundamentals for a reason. Do them well, and everything else falls after that. So eat well, sleep well, exercise, the basic stuff that it's not like this isn't meant to be like mind-blowing stuff. It's meant to be reminders that like do the fundamentals. When you go and you learn a new sport, what do they teach you for ages? It's the fundamentals are the most important thing, and everything builds off that. So I'm really glad that we're able to reiterate that point.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. So Beck, for people that really were intrigued about what you were talking about today, where can they find you if they want to know more about you?
Okay, so www.counselingandwellbeing.com.au is my website. So if you want to have a look, I've got heaps of blogs and social media and bits and pieces, helpful stuff on there.
That's an excellent domain. You got www.counselingandwellbeing? That's an excellent. That sounds like that's a very competitive domain. No, that's a very good domain.
Hey man,
you got to talk SEOs.
I know someone.
Okay. And you guys already know where to find us at Nick and Femi. Oh, we've been talking about our website for so long, and you'll be glad to know that it's finally live.
Oh, so the Nick and Femi website wasn't live. Okay, a lot's happened since season 1. Holy crap.
Yeah, it wasn't live, but now it's live. So nickandfemi.com. Also with our mental health program at rechargewellness.com.au.
Yeah, and the Recharge program is actually really excellent. So as much as we joke around about it, it's something that's been changing a lot of lives. We've been running it for a while now, and we spoke about the launch a while ago, and it's gotten really, really good reception, seeing great results. And if you got any situation that you've been going through, I think we can just jump in and talk and see if it makes sense for you. If you're going through stress, anxiety, anything like that, give us jump on rechargewellness.com.au, click get started and see if this makes sense.
Sure. All right, guys. Peace and love.
Peace and love.